Assalamu alaikum to all of you. First of all, I introduce myself. My name is Sartaj Hussain, the student of BS English at St. University Campus, Latkana. So this is a video presentation which is given by the Sir Hussain Ali Kumbar Saab. So now I'm going to share my slides. So this is my introduction. So I have already mentioned that my name is Sartaj Hussain, the student of BS English at St. University Campus, Latkana, the room number 32. The concerned teacher is Sir Hussain Ali Kumbar Saab. The subject is history of English language. So I have chosen the four topics: the definitions of languages, the basic function of languages, system in languages, and the flux of the language. So the first topic of my first slide, that is the definitions of languages. So let's see what are the definitions. The first definition, that is the language is basically system of communication where the sounds or signs or conveys the objects and actions and ideas. Simply, you can say that the language is basically the system of communication between the two or more than two persons. It's called a language. The number second definition, that is a language is any activity of the four kinds: speaking, reading, writing, and listening. So if you have these four signs, inshallah, you will be able to speak any kind of the language. And the number third definition of language, that is the expression of thoughts by means of speech sounds. That is called, simply you can say the expression of thoughts, expression of thought, it's called the language. And number four, that is the language is method of human communications, either spoken or written. Simply you can say the language is a method of human communication, either spoken or written, that is called the language. And number fifth definition of language, that is a language is a system of communication consists of sounds, words, grammar, or system communication used by the people in particular country or any type of word. Simply you say that the language is a system of communications consists on the sounds, words, words or grammar, system of communication used by the people in particular country or any type of word. That is called a language. Now I have now the second topic, that is the basic function of the language. What are the basic function of the language? Let's see. The basic function of the language, the basic function of the language, the function of the language includes the communication, the expression, and identity, play, imaginative expression, and the emotional release. We use the language for need to use the language to fulfill our needs. Means simply you can say that we use the language, it includes the communication, the expression of identity, or simply you can say that we use the language to fulfillment our needs. Means whatever our needs, sometimes we speak or with the help of face expression, we use any kind of the word. So we use the language to fulfillment our needs. What are our needs? So we fulfillment our needs, that we use languages. So what are the basic function? The one of the main basic function of language to communicate the people, to understand them. When the someone speak instead a specific purpose, a person uses the language to many different purpose. For example, to express his feelings, to ask the help to someone, etc., to show their feelings or attitude or the sadness. That's why that was the basic function of the languages. The language and education. Language is a very important and education process. It helps to students to understand things. You see, to take the examples of education. For example, if the language is not necessary, so with the help of without language, we cannot study, we cannot speak, or we cannot understand what the other wants to say. It is too much difficult to understand any too much difficult to understand the language of any person, because if we have no language, then what we don't know that what he wants to say. So that was a big, you can say that there's a big difficulty that without language we are nothing. You can simply say that, or you can also say that the without language we are as like as a bird without wings. So it is a big problem. So a language is very necessary for everyone. And language and culture. Language represents cultures, customs, traditions by appearance of person. So language and cultures both are very necessary for us, because if we forgot our culture, means you can simply say we forgot everything. So language and culture, this both things are very important for us. Language also represents the culture and customs, our physical appearance, our traditions by appearance of the person. That is called language and culture. And language and nation building. Language helps to communicate to different countries through a nation will be developed. Means if our tradition, if our trade with another countries, our countries it will be developed, or will be developed, or helps to communicate with different countries. That is a language and nation building. And language is used in different ways: science, journalism, advertisement, political, prayer, or worship. This is you can say that the simple examples where the language is used in different ways. There are so many other examples where we use the language, because simply you can also say that language is a life. A life is a language. And the Socrates and Plato consider the language is to be a mechanism which provides the truth and knowledge. Consider the language to be a mechanism which provides the truth and the knowledge. And the Socrates and Plato said that. And the third topic is the system in language. Let's see what are the systems in language. The language is considered as a system, primary, because it is made of linguistics unit that are interdependent of each other. Language become a system of system, and also language made up of systems and skills. The four system of language are the grammar, vocabulary, phonology, and discourse. It means simply you can say that the language is considered as a system of primary because it is made of the linguistics, and it is also the interdependent of each other. Language become a system of system, and also language made of the system. And there are the four system of language, that is the grammar, vocabulary, phonology, and discourse. And the grammar, the signification of language, the structure of language, how it is has been used, means a grammar is a very necessary in the language. And number second is the vocabulary. Vocabulary choose of a word at a specific place or context. Sometimes if a teacher, for example, in the classroom, there's a teacher, he uses sometimes the tough vocabulary, so we have to use the dictionary. And so with the help of dictionary, we know that what the teacher wants to say. So vocabulary is a very important in a language, in the system in language. And number two, in the discourse, a context in which the language has been used, attitude of speaker. You can say in which, for example, if a teacher he conduct a class, that we don't know that what kind of the we don't know in which attitude the teacher wants to teaches us, or in which attitude the teacher is speaking. So that is called the discourse. The discourse. So this is a system in language, that it is a language system of the systems, and also the language made of the systems. And there are the four skills that are the systems of language, that is the grammar, vocabulary, phonology, and discourse. That is all about the system in a language. And Number fourth topic, that is a flux. It means a last topic of my presentation, that is a flux of the language. Means what are the things, what are the changes comes in the language, that is a flux of language. Let's see what happened in the flux of the language. The flux of language, a series of changes, the continuous changes. It means simply you can say the series of changes means a continuous changes. The language is constantly in a state of flux. A series means a continuous changes in the language, that is called the flux of the languages. A dead language, a language which is no longer spoken by the some group of people for the purpose of communication and the social cooperation in a dead language. Simply you can say is that a language which is no longer spoken by the people, by the group of the people for the purpose of communication or the social cooperation, it is a dead language. Let's see what are the examples, what are the examples of the dead languages. The examples of the dead language, that is a first example of dead language, that is a Latin language. Latin language is by far the most well-known dead languages. And number second examples of dead language, that is a Coptic. Coptic is what remain of the ancient Egyptian languages. And number third example of dead language, that is a Sumerian. And number fourth example of dead languages, that is a Sanskrit language. You see, these are the examples of that language. Now, these languages, you can simply say that these languages stop, or no one spoke these kind of the languages, because this is the examples of the dead languages. And take the example of Latin language, this was famous in all over the world, and the Latin is by far the most well-known dead languages in the world. And the Coptic is also remind us the ancient Egyptian one. Means these examples, these are the examples of their language, and these languages are very important in the world and that time era. And changes in English. Changes in English. The general consequence is that there was between 6,000 or 7,000 languages currently spoken in all over the world. Although it is difficult to tell the precise beginning of any language, English is thought to have had its origin around AD 400. Means you can say that in the world 6,000 or 7,000 languages are spoken in currently spoken in all over the world, and it is too much difficult to precise the beginning of any language, because we don't know exactly the date of any language, and where the language is beginning, where the language is from. So the change in English, the English language has changed very considerably in the last 1,000 years. Words have appeared, and some old ones disappear. The words have changed in meaning. The grammatical ending of the words have changed. Means each and everything has been changed by the time, time by time, and gradually and slowly. Because there's a modern technology come, and in old time everything has been changed by the time. So the linguistics change in English. The linguistics change in English. The first person, John, who translated the entire Bible into English, and he was died in 1784. Linguistics change. The first person who translated the entire Bible in English, and he was died in 1384. What are the changes in linguistics? I'll give you the examples. Here is the example. Here is the slide of examples. That what are the linguistic change and change. See the examples. See the spelling of the example. Number one example is that see the spelling of van. In old time, the WHANNE van, and now see the spelling of van, WHEN van. So there's a big difference between WHANNE van and WHEN van, because then see the spelling of old time and see the spelling of modern technologies, because everything has been changed and linguistic also has been changed. And these are the examples. Take the asked art brother, once they spell, see the spelling of asked AXID, asked art, and it's now see the spelling of asked ASKED, asked, and art ERT art, and ART art brother, BRODIR brother, and now see the spelling of brother, BROTHER brother, and see the one and one. So these are the changing which comes now and after. So this was a linguistic changes which comes in. So because the time has been changed, the new technology has been appeared, everything has been changed, the grammatical ways are every means each and everything has been changed because of the time. So this is all about my presentation. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is all about my presentation. So thank you so much, guys.